The first thing that I want to highlight here is that his name stands out in bold and in large font. It is larger than any other font in the resume itself. And that's because we want it to stand out, because you have potential employers looking at tons of resumes every day. And we want to make sure that the employer has as much ease as possible in seeing who it is that they're reading about. Job description. So you do want to get very familiar with the job description, because this is how you're going to start the customizing process with your resume. You really want to evaluate of that job history, what is the last 5 years of that experience been, and how is it applicable to the position that you're applying for. What you want to keep in mind here is that no matter what you've done, you obtain skills that will be conveyed in the type of employee that you are and what you can do in the workplace, even if it was unpaid. So don't discount any experiences that you've had. And then finally, we have other experiences and skills, like say, for instance, if you are bilingual, if you are somewhat fluent in a second language, you want to highlight that. Your skills are not all gained from getting a paycheck. So you got to think about it from that perspective, is that if you volunteered for a church club, or maybe you volunteered for your church, maybe taking care of the little ones while the parents were in the service, those types of things, you got to think about and do an inventory of the skills that you gained while you were doing that. And you can highlight it in this section. The other part of this is you also want to highlight any other experience or skills that you have obtained. For instance, as a student, you are gaining skills in working with email, with social media accounts, with Microsoft products, with Google Docs. Those are all important key skills that you can bring to an employer to be able to utilize if they hire you. So you don't want to discredit anything that you have done. So you really want to make sure that you do a nice laundry list of all the skills that you have, and then see what is applicable to the position. Part of the reason why things are in bullet and they're in a basic font is because it just boils down and makes it not so narrative, so that it is easy to follow and read. And that's what you want. You want them to read. This is your first impression, which is a piece of paper. So you want to make sure that they can read it all, so they know everything that they can about you before you meet. What transferable skills have you gained as a student? And with transferable skills, it's really more of doing a self-evaluation of you and what you are capable of doing. This can be challenging for people to do. And one recommendation that we talked about was really actually going to people that know you well. So ask your best friend, ask your parents, your siblings, a cousin, whomever, and ask them for feedback on what they think your strengths are, because that's going to be them viewing you. And they'll be able to tell you what kind of skills and strengths that they feel that you have.
So let's say, for example, students are part of a club. Maybe they're not an officer or anything like that. What maybe are some transferable skills they might learn by being part of a club that maybe they don't think of, because they're like, well, I wasn't president, so I didn't, that's not worth me putting down.
Well, being flexible. I mean, you're adaptable. You're, adapting to the change of the environment of who's leading. That's, you don't necessarily have to be the leader, but you can also be the influencer of having articulated conversation.
And it depends on the type of club too. If you're
Right.
planning an activity for maybe a fundraiser, planning skills goes into that. Negotiation skills goes into that. So it could be, depending on the context.